Hello and welcome to Quilt Addicts Anonymous. I'm Stephanie Soebbing. Today we're going to be doing a quilting play-by-play to show you a really easy quilting stitch. It's just a little loop-de-loop that's great for all over quilting design or like a modified custom, which is what I did in today's quilt. This is how I quilted Whirligig. It is a Stashin with Stephanie pattern. If you don't know what Stashin with Stephanie is, it's a great subscription club that we put out. You get 10 fat quarters for $29.99 a month plus a pattern that has been designed specifically for the fabric, which in this case is this one. You get access to our entire pattern library, which at this point is about $300 worth of patterns that have previously been Stashin with Stephanie patterns. You can download those right away when you get started. No waiting for those. And then also you get 2 free videos a month, one on how to piece it, one on how to quilt it, and you get special discounts on additional fabric plus first dibs to buy it, and we pretty much almost sold out before we released it to the general public. Our Stashin with Stephanie members this month just ate it all up. They love this one this month, and I can see why. It's a really pretty line. It's very bright and vibrant. And then also you get special discounts on my book, Fat Quarter Workshop, and then we've got a new one coming out a little later this fall. All right, so enough about the club. Check it out. It's really awesome. We hear from people all the time that it's a great value. You do need to know how to download a PDF pattern. That is where most of the value comes in. You get a whole lot of freebies in terms of free patterns, but you do need to know how to do that in order to take full advantage of the membership options in there. But it's really awesome. Check it out over at Stashin with Stephanie on our website, shop.quiltaddictsanonymous.com. Okay, enough promo. Now we're going to get into the quilting. So we typically start these videos off by talking a little bit about thread. So for this one, I wanted to quilt my background separate than my little pinwheels, my Whirligigs. So I did my standard bone. I use Glide from Haben Dash, and I really like it. It's a polyester thread and it has kind of a sheen to it, so it really is just kind of shiny and just kind of blends in the background. So I've used this as like an all over on print as well, and it does really well. But it's nice because you can kind of build up on it if you're doing things like ruler work or feathers or something, and it's not going to get extra thick and not fun to look at. And then we're going to do something that maybe might blow your guys' mind a little bit. I did green for all of my pieces here because green is a neutral. I know this may be a new concept to a lot of you, but green really is a neutral. It is between obviously blue and yellow, so it looks really good with both of those. And in this case, we have green in all of our prints. The ones that don't have it are blue, and so it blends in real nicely with that because it's right next to it on the color wheel. And there are just a couple of places where there's pink and it does stand out, but for the most part it really just blends in very nicely, and so you just see the texture and not the fact that you use green thread. So I use green as a neutral quite a bit whenever I'm trying to put it into quilts like this where I'm doing a lot within the block itself. So I've used this many times. That's why I have the big cone, because it is a fabulous neutral. This is color number 60580 from Glide. It's celery. All right, so now we're going to get into the quilting play-by-play. I'm going to warn you right now, my GoPro was acting up. It seemed to record over the original file that I did where we were showing quilting in the background. So you're just going to see me quilting from our main camera from the side for that. You're not going to see the close-up. So what we decided to do was we kind of started off like in the middle of the quilt. So you're going to see me quilting this part first, the actual block, because that is what we have available to us. I want you to be able to see the stitch before you see how I sort of tackled the quilt. And one thing to note is right now you're seeing the quilt from top to bottom, but I loaded this quilt on sideways. So typically when you're quilting on the long arm, you're going to quilt from top to bottom. But since I wanted to be able to travel and not have to break thread and just travel from block to block, and then same in the background, I would just come up to here and then make my way down. That would be a lot of stops and starts if you were doing it top to bottom. So I just loaded everything side to side, and then I was able to do it all in one pass. It made it go a lot faster, and I had fewer passes because it is, your quilts are typically, if they're not square, going to be less wide than they are tall. So it goes a little bit faster because there's less rolls. So let's get in. Again, we're going to start. You're going to see a lot of it quilted already because of those camera malfunctions. But we're gonna start off quilting one of these. All right, so you can see I've started just right off on the edge, and that way I don't have to clip any threads. And all I'm doing here is I'm going in clockwise and then going out counterclockwise. And I just keep switching directions of the way that circle is going, the way I'm coming in and going out of it. And by doing it that way, it really makes it look very nice and very whimsical. And in this one, I went all the way up to the top, then I kind of just wiggled my way down. In later ones, I did just make the loops a little bit larger so I could just fit 2 per sort of row there, and it fit in a little bit nicer, kind of like you can see here. It definitely looks a lot better. And I'm just working my way up and down that block. I want to fill it in evenly. I want my loops to all be about the same size. And then when I'm ready, I can just travel from point to point there and move on to the next block. So you can see this is really a very fast quilting design, and you can really customize it by size as well. I used about the same size loops throughout my entire quilt, whether I was working in the blocks or in the background, because I wanted the texture to be even throughout the quilt. But so that since I'm working with smaller blocks here, I did use smaller loops, but you certainly could use really big loops too and still be done really quickly and fill your quilt up very nicely. I really enjoy a dense quilt, densely quilted, so that's what I did with this one. But it was a lot of fun to work on that. So I think I'm just gonna let you guys watch me zoom around this quilt here for a minute, and it should be, you can just see how I'm going from side to side and making my way through. I should probably also note that the reason why the lighting stinks at this point is because I finished this quilt at like midnight the night before we released it. We're still COVID shipping delays and just life and kids, you know, starting school late because of COVID and all that. We got it done, but barely. And so the lighting isn't as fabulous as it could be, so we'll be better next time. Hopefully we'll be able to do it in daylight. All right, so here you're seeing me quilting from the side. So this is kind of what you would see if you're watching and you're standing next to me while I was quilting. So you can see that I'm just working my way up that block and then back down and just filling in as evenly as I can. And you're not going to see obviously how I'm working and going counterclockwise and then clockwise and just changing the direction of that stitch every time to make it loop around really nicely. But you can see real nicely how I work across that block and then travel. Pop right back on as we quilt that last little block and show that this is very nice and sideways. You can see that right now you're able to see it up and down, but we're going from side to side here, so that way I'm able to go the whole width. And you're gonna see me be able to quilt right off the edge, the way we kind of quilted right onto it as well. And that's great because then you have no stops and starts, because that's one of the things that makes your quilting take a lot longer when you're working on the long arm or the domestic, when you have a ton of those. And if you're able to just do one pass with no thread breaks, that's the way to do it. So now what you're doing is you're seeing me quilt these little triangles that are on the outside of the block and connect, because we've got that offset setting where one block is starting here and the other starting up there. And this is really, I quilted these separately again, so that way we could do it in one pass from side to side. So that way I'm able to just go straight from one over to the other, and I'm just quilting about 4 loop-de-loops per triangle. I'm just again doing clockwise for one, counterclockwise for the next, and once you kind of get a rhythm going, you don't really have to think about it that much. In fact, it's best if you don't, and you're just letting your body remember how to do it. It takes practice to get to that point, but once you have got it down, it really is very nice. Alright, so now we are back to the land of good lighting when it was daylight when I started working on this quilt. I'm doing the loop-de-loops in the background at this point. So I started way in the side and I'm working my way across. And this is where I sort of set the size that I wanted to work on. And unfortunately, this is a part that the GoPro like recorded over, so you're not able to see the tight up shots, which is why we're showing you this second. But it's nice because you can see as I sort of work my way around the quilt. Now this is the top, so obviously I didn't have to worry about anything coming up here. But when you get to the top here, all you're going to do is you're going to do exactly what we did before, and you're just going to cross over right where that point is. You don't want to be on the fabric here, you want to be right on the point. Just go straight over and continue on until you get to the next one, and then keep going. And again, we're doing this side to side, so we're quilting that way instead of top to bottom like you normally would, so I can do it all in one pass. And it really makes it really very enjoyable and very fast. I got the whole quilt done. I probably started around 4-ish, and I finished, I pulled off a long arm around 10, and I did have a dinner break in there. So it really was not a very long quilt to do, especially considering I went through like 3 or 4 bobbins, so I did a lot of stitching in it. It's very dense, but it really did not take a lot of time because I was able to go each side in one pass, and I didn't have to worry about breaking threads and doing everything. But it still is able to be custom because we, like a modified custom. We did quilt the background separately from our stars or our little whirligigs here, and then this was a separate pass as well. But by breaking it up, and what I did is I did all my background first, and then I did all of my greens where I had my prints second, and that way you're able to get sort of a custom look, but it is an all over design, which makes it easy and fast, but not like I just whip this out in an hour and it's big giant stitches and it satisfies the requirement of the batting in terms of how closely I quilted it, but it's not as much fun to look at as it could be because it's really a simple stitch. What elevates it to looking a little bit fancier is how tightly I quilted it. So as long as you kind of keep your density the same throughout, and for me the density again was determined by the size of my block. This is about an 8-inch finished block. So it really just isn't a whole lot to work on here. So I wanted to make sure that I quilted appropriately according to that size. All right, I think we're watching me do this in a sped up time here. We definitely are. There's no way I'm going that fast. But here you can see where I'm just sort of traveling. I'm going around all that white. And then in a little bit, you're going to see me travel just right down and then move on to the next one. So I just went right over the tip of that point and then continued on, and it's able to go really fast and really fun. But this is not real time. This is me sped up, going through and doing a row really quickly. So I hope you've enjoyed this. I hope it was helpful, even though we weren't able to give you all the close-up shots that you're used to thanks to that camera malfunction, but hopefully it gave you some good ideas that you can use on your next quilt when you're looking to do something quickly, but also not just like slap it on there and call it done, because I think our quilts deserve a little bit more than that. And you can always dress it up a little bit, even if you need it to be fast and simple, like I did for this one. All right, well, thank you so much for following along with us. I hope you've enjoyed today's tutorial. Check out Stashin with Stephanie. This fabric is pretty much sold out. I think we have some green left by the time you see this, and that's about it. So our Stashin with Stephanie members, they get 24-hour head start on getting additional fabric because they've already received 10 fat quarters, and we reserve some for them so that way they can turn their bundle into a full quilt kit. So if they really like the project, then they're able to do that. So they get first dibs on it, and this month they bought almost all of it before we were able to release it to the rest of you, because they know they only have a certain amount of time in order to get it, so they do. And so if you want to make sure that you don't miss out on getting fabulous fabric like this, the best way is to join Stashin with Stephanie. Our sign-ups open right now, and if you sign up by the end of the month, then your first bundle will ship on the 20th of next month. So it is August now, so it'll ship on the 20th of September. If you wait and you sign up on September 1st, then you're looking at having your first bundle ship on the 20th of October, because it takes us time to get everything together. We're cutting like 6,500 fat quarters for this at this point, and getting them all folded, packed, bundled, and ready to ship. And sometimes we get the fabric late. This month we actually have it really early, which is very unusual right now because there is such a bottleneck when it comes to shipping goods. Like quilting fabric has gotten caught up in that as well. So it's supposed to stabilize maybe next year. So we have a little bit of time to wait. And in the meantime, we definitely need our time to make sure that we have packed enough and that we've got enough ready for our subscribers to be able to get additional fabric. So make sure you join, and that will guarantee you first dibs, and you will not miss out like a lot of people did this month. So check it out. You can still get the pattern, and you can make that with your own scraps. It's fat quarter friendly always. You get access to all the other free patterns. You get exclusive discounts. Really is a great deal. And you can get access to those free patterns right away. As soon as you join, you will be eligible to download all of those PDF patterns that are from our Stashin with Stephanie Club. And you get your discounts on the fabric right away. And you also, if you want to get some of this, so like say you sign up and you want to grab a kit. I don't think there are any kits available, by the way, but say you want some of the green fabric that's left, then you can go and you can get that discount on the fabric right now away as soon as you're all signed up and checked out. So check that out. It's Stashin with Stephanie over at shop.quiltaddictsanonymous.com. Until next time, happy quilting.